Yamish, good to see you.
Hi, good. Thanks for taking the question.
Sure.
The president showed a video that he said showed more than 1,000 burial sites of white South Africans that he said were murdered. We know that that was not true and that the video wasn't showing that. So I wonder, why did the president choose to show that? What's not true, Yamish? It's not true that the video was showing a burial site. It is unsubstantiated that that's the case.
No, it is true that that video showed the crosses that represent.
Which is what the president claimed.
The video showed images of crosses in South Africa about white farmers who have been killed and politically persecuted because of the color of their skin. And those crosses are representing their lives. Those crosses are representing their lives in the fact that they are now dead and their government did nothing about it. Are you disputing that there's no...
I'm disputing the fact that the video showed what the president claimed it showed, because it did not show that. But even more, what I'm asking you is who at the White House...
No, it did show that. It showed white crosses representing people who have perished because of racial persecution.
Verifies the videos that the president shows, and what protocols are in place when there's unsubstantiated information being put out for the world and world leaders to show?
Yamish, what's unsubstantiated about the video? The video shows crosses that represent the dead bodies of people who were racially persecuted by their government. In fact, the Associated Press, of all places, has a picture of that very monument, and the caption from the Associated Press is, "Each cross marks a white farmer who has been killed in a farm murder." So it is substantiated, not just by that video and the physical evidence that everybody saw on display in the Oval Office, but also by another outlet in this room, the Associated Press. So you should take it up with them if you believe the claim is unsubstantiated, and that's a ridiculous line of questioning.
What's going on, everyone? Talks with Kenny here today. I'm a little sick, so if I sound different, you know why. So as you saw from the intro, liberal news reporters are trying to, create this narrative. At least they don't say it's fake news anymore. And I think they're reporting it a little bit more honestly, believe it or not. Unsubstantiated claims, fine, I'll give you that one. But as you saw from the pushback from Trump's press secretary, she asked what part of it was unsubstantiated, and she referenced another source, which is the AP. And this is their attempt to try to spin another narrative of Trump ambushed the South African president. And it's so funny how false claims in New York Times, unfounded, ABC, debunked conspiracy theories, CNN, false claims, Forbes, all the media does is lie, pure trash. And, I got a video coming up with Abby Phillips debating Scott Jennings to the point where Scott Jennings was getting ambushed by everyone else on the panel because these people do not want to cover the stuff. And this reminds me of the Biden cover-up stuff, right? These people say making unsubstantiated claims about Joe Biden. We're speculating here. But end of the day, there's a reason why these 59 white farmers are requesting asylum here in the USA. And there's a reason why Trump's taking them. Trump believes there's credible, a significant amount of evidence to show that these people are being prosecuted. Y'all just finished bragging about y'all just finished saying how 93% of the farms are owned only by 7% of the population. All of them are white farmers. So if they're saying kill the farmers, it's disproportionately targeting white farmers, white South Africans. This is the argument that's being made. But these people, they want to say, oh, look, Trump ambushed him. He got ambushed. Here's a clip. Like, this shows you, this is why a lot of people believe that the media is dishonest. And this is why I said liberal bias is really corrupting the profession. Let's take a look.
The dramatic scene in the Oval Office today, the tense confrontation, President Trump ambushing the president of South Africa.
Up next, another Oval Office meltdown, President Trump ambushing the president of South Africa.
President Trump is being accused of conducting something of a diplomatic ambush of South Africa's president in the Oval Office.
To be with you, I'm Katie Tur. President Trump orchestrated another Oval Office ambush today.
Today, Donald Trump meeting with the president of South Africa and attempting to ambush and humiliate that leader.
Zelensky territory, where essentially he was a bit ambushed inside the Oval Office.
Felt like an ambush in there, kind of like the President Zelensky meeting in the Oval Office.
This was an ambush. It was orchestrated.
Cyril Ramaphosa brought his best diplomatic self to this meeting, but nothing could have prepared him for this multimedia ambush.
What started as, to some degree, an ambush.
Well, Katie, I mean, it was an ambush.
Ambush.
Ambushed.
Ambush.
An ambush.
Ambushing.
Ambushed inside the Oval Office.
I think the South African president initially came to the meeting, and you actually saw him try to extend some olive branches. He tried to direct the conversation to trade, to critical minerals. He brought golfers that he knew the president would listen to, if not listening to his delegation that was presented there. And then when a reporter did ask about these false claims of white genocide, you also saw him try to explain the reality on the ground in his country that President Trump then dismissed. You saw him basically say, and that the data backs this up. Police statistics in South Africa do show that on the subject of killings, there are not mass killings of white South Africans in South Africa. There have been gruesome killings of white farmers, individual cases of that. But as a systemic, the police data shows that right now that white South Africans are not killed at a higher rate than any other South African. There is a broad crime problem in South Africa. That is very different than a claim of genocide. Then there's the issue of land. Well, under apartheid, that apartheid-led government made it very, very difficult, almost impossible for black people to own farmland. So now you've seen this law passed earlier this year by the South African government that, yes, would take land, but it's subject to judicial review as well. And it has to be in the public interest. So there's a lengthy process. It's not just like you're confiscating land as well. That nuance also has not been articulated by President Trump here. So you have these two issues, these two false claims. And this meeting, in a way, was the culmination of, for years now, these lobbyists of these Afrikaner groups have been traveling to Washington, talking to Republicans, also talking to this White House that has given them time, actually told us in a piece, described them as civil rights leaders as well. And you're seeing the culmination of that lobbying campaign and the amplifying of these false descriptions of the reality on the ground in this country.
How do you see it, Scott?
Well, look, whether you call it a genocide or not, the facts are white farmers in South Africa have been murdered. A lot of people have tried to cover this up. A lot of people in, I think, media in the United States have tried to cover it up. Obviously, the South African government doesn't want to talk about it, so it was kind of a boss move for Donald Trump to roll that television in there today. And I think even the agriculture minister in the Oval Office confirmed that these people are, in fact, being murdered. So my question is, if it's not a genocide today, how many do we want to let get murdered so that people around here can be satisfied? Okay, now it's a genocide. Let's let a few more. I don't understand. We're talking about 50-something people they were trying to let in, and everybody is losing their mind after we let in 20 million illegal immigrants over the last several years. The president is trying to prevent genocide from happening any further to these people. They are clearly being discriminated against. Some have been murdered. This was an interesting spectacle in the Oval Office today, but it had to happen because I don't think anybody was telling the truth about it.
And you saw from that segment the same kind of logic they were using. That, hey, look, most criminality affects black people, not just the white farmers. Whenever we try to do that argument here in the States, you hear all these little pro-black people, right? So-called pro-black people, and black liberals always crying about police brutality. But whenever conservatives bring up stats, hey, only 12 on average black unarmed black perpetrators are killed by cops per year. That's less than when white cops kill other white cops. So cops kill more white people than they do black people. 24 compared to 12. Black people still claim, oh, look, we're systematic racism, police brutality. And now these white Afrikaners, or whatever you want to call them, the white South Africans, they're making the same claim, and the liberal media is dismissing it, using effectively the same kind of positions that conservatives has been using here in the United States of America. Picking and choosing, wishy-washy, inconsistent. And this is why a lot of people don't trust the liberal or Democratic Party. Because you guys, whenever it's convenient for you, that's when you want to switch your position. This is why I can't stand the vagueness of liberalism sometimes.
This is straight out of the conspiracy land of the far right. And it is not based in fact. And it's amazing that this has actually become the foreign policy of the United States based on just straight up. I mean, we have the numbers. It is completely unsubstantiated. I mean, Scott,
you're saying it's not true that some white farmers have been murdered?
No, it's not true that there is a genocide against white farmers.
Okay, whatever you call it, have white farmers been murdered?
Actually, how many
have violence been committed against white farmers?
How many white farmers? Hold on a second. How many white farmers have been murdered in
I don't
South
know.
Africa?
Several. I mean, they asked.
No. How many?
I don't know. Several.
I know why you don't know. Because those numbers don't exist broken down by race.
So then how do you know that majority of these people are criminalized by other, like, black people or black South Africans are more likely to get affected by the criminality than if it's not broken down by race? You have those data points. Maybe you don't want to highlight them. We're making assumptions based on the fact that, hey, 83% of the country is black Africans. So if there's a massive crime problem, we know it disproportionately affects them, technically, right? But what about the instances of hate crime, right? I'm gonna make that argument, right? What about the instances of a hate crime? You know, these white South Africans own majority of the land, that is meaning that they're going to be disproportionately affected by the bill just passed by the South African government. And that's unsubstantiated claims. You can't put logical reasoning and deductive reasoning and come to a conclusion that, hey, this law can be misused for this. Oh, it's due to judicial overwatch. Yeah, sure. But you can take land without compensation. And then they try to make an asinine argument comparing to what Donald Trump tried to do with domain. I forgot the term for the border wall. But Trump but I believe you're compensated for that. The government compensates for taking the land from you to build a border wall on it. The South African government is not even doing that.
I mean, I know this. I wouldn't trust the South African government to tell me. I know that.
How many black farmers have been murdered in South Africa?
Look, you guys are so triggered over 59 people.
No, I'm not.
After we left 20 million people in the country, I don't know why you're so triggered.
Haven't even brought up the people, the white people that Trump
we know where
picked
you're
out
going
because
with
they
it.
were white and told them they could come to the country.
How much racial killing are you going to condone?
There are 19,000 murders in South Africa. 36 were on farms. 7 of the farmers were victims. Okay, this is according to the South African police.
And you think the South African government is a credible source?
The other 29, hold on a second. The 29 victims who were included in the farm killings were farm employees who tend to be black. So the vast majority of people killed on farms in South Africa are black. Where is the concern about them?
The concern is that there are white farmers who have had violence committed against them, and they're being threatened. They're being threatened every single day. There's 59 people, and you're triggered about 59 people, and I don't know why.
I haven't mentioned anything about 59 people. Why are you only concerned about white people?
The same can be said about you, Abby Phillips. You're only concerned about every other immigrant group can come in here, right? But all of a sudden, when Trump brings out 59 people who all have the same skin color and they happen to be white, y'all making it a big deal about this. Y'all saying Trump's giving them special treatment. When if you look at the stats, right, we're gonna go by the facts, right, Abby Phillips? How many people are coming from South Africa that Trump and them allowed legally? I think it's around 8,000. But you're mad about 59. Out of the 8,000, majority of them probably are black from South Africa. But you're mad about 59 white people coming in this country. You're the one blowing this up. You're the one caring about their race. You're the one caring about their skin color. And this is what leads many on the right to say, oh, you guys were trying to do demographic change because you're mad that the wrong kind of demographic got allowed into the country. And that's what y'all pissed about. In my view, this is just nothing more than politics.
I'm only concerned about this story because these 59 people asked for status. They're getting status, and now everybody's freaking out about it.
They didn't ask for anything.
There is no evidence that white people have been targeted. Some white people in the larger issue of farmers, in the larger issue of violence, have been part of this violence. But there is no.
Why are they trying to get out? Why are they? If there's no,
Scott, the
why
majority,
are they trying to leave?
The majority of
have you seen the videos of the people saying "kill the white farmers"?
Afrikaners do not want to leave.
What do you think the phrase "kill the white farmers" means?
Yeah, that's a phrase that the ANC. That was a phrase that was against the anti-apartheid movement. But the ANC, who's ruling the government, the president's government, has disavowed that phrase, has disavowed any songs, and there's no evidence that white people are being targeted. And the majority of Afrikaners do not want to leave.
They're not a part of the government, Scott. Right. You're taking a fringe movement and you're trying to make it a characteristic.
Just like January 6th, just like the Proud Boys, just like Gophers. I don't know all these right-wing groups they keep talking about. Just like the Nazis. You guys do the same ish. Like, I'm tired. I'm tired of the double standard. I'm tired of the games. We're tired. So it's okay when you apply that kind of sentiment against your the opposing political party that you don't like. But God forbid when it's something that is convenient to your narrative or you don't like, you don't want it applied to your side or people you have sympathy for. This is the double standard many people call out about the mainstream media. This is why I said liberal bias has destroyed the credibility of the liberal media. Time and time again, they love to attribute bad things to the right. Oh, they're Nazis. They're fascists. They're this. They're that. They're threats to democracy. You do all this stuff. Oh, this fringe movement represents them. You try to color all conservatives in the same brush. But God forbid, Trump plays that same game with the South African president. I digress.
Racism. It is the height of racism to say that white people have to be exempted from all violence in any society. And that is what is being said here. If we cannot say, there is no white genocide happening, there is no farm genocide happening, and the argument is some white people have been killed, even though 27,000 murders happened in that country. What are we saying? If anybody of one racial group is murdered, then that constitutes a refugee status for that particular group.
When the president has also ended the refugee program for all other people in actual war. There is actual war.
No, I don't understand.
I'm not triggered.
You want them to stay, and I guess you want them to have violence committed against them. Does that make you happy?
Go ahead and have comments, and then I'll let
think
Sherman.
violence against all people is wrong.
I agree with you.
Including the white
totally
farmers,
agree with
but
you.
also including the black people that live in Africa. There are 1.5 billion people that live in the continent of
I don't like
Africa.
violence of any kind.
There are 1.5 billion people that live in Africa.
Okay.
There are 63 million.
We can't take them all. You hear that? 1.5 billion people. That means there's more people in Africa than here in the United States. If you import all those people into this country, it's Africa 2.0. This is why you have to have controlled migration. You can't have mass migration. Mass migration will bankrupt America into poverty. This is why I am very strict on controlled immigration. And Trump decided, hey, they pass a bill that disproportionately affects white farmers. Hey, they could be politically prosecuted. Let me give them a rope. That's a possible asylum claim, right? But when 20 million people were coming over the border unvetted by Biden administration, do you see this kind of fervor from the media? Hell no, you didn't. Because the right demographics was crossing across the border, according to them, according to liberal bias. But God forbid you bring European-descended people, European-descended immigrants into this country, all of a sudden it's an uproar. 20 million illegals from Spanish, Latin America, Haiti, Africa in some cases, China, fine. 20 million of those people, fine. 59 from South Africa, but they happen to be white. Media hellstorm. Make it make sense. Where was this outrage for the 20 million people coming in through the country unvetted by Joe Biden? None. But you want to call out Trump for hypocrisy. But you don't want to call out your own hypocrisy. This is what allowed the Biden cover-up to be a thing in the first place. That these people, all they want to do is spin an agenda. Agenda-driven reporting. That's what the mainstream media has colored it itself to be, has marketed itself to be.
People that live in South Africa. Mm-hmm. There were 59 people that were extracted out of a continent of 1.5 billion people and brought to our country. And what color were those people? White.
So?
And where were there other places where genocide is happening in the continent? Where 1.5 billion. I'm not against it. I'm not against it. I want to know. No. I want you to have a complete. I can have a complete thought. I want you to have a complete thought.
Yeah, but how can you have a complete thought with you guys continuously interrupting him? Like, yeah. Look. Let's see if she gives him a chance to have a complete thought.
My thought is, you were okay. These people are under threat, and now they're coming here, and you're enraged that they're not still under threat.
Can you say that in addition to the 7 potential white farmers that were murdered, the 18,982,000 black folks that were murdered in the country, that's a problem too?
Yes, all violence is a problem.
Yes, and maybe
but
perhaps
the government's policies are targeting these particular people with land confiscation, and they're being targeted with violence.
That's incorrect.
Disproportionate outcomes. And he didn't even finish his complete thought. They're already kind of jumping in. Disproportionate outcomes, right? Doesn't that prove racism according to the black liberal worldview? If something disproportionately affects a racial group, it's racist. I'm holding you accountable to your own principles. So if the white farmers say, hey, we own 88% of the farmland, this law comes to pass that the government can confiscate farmland without compensation, and we disproportionately own those farmlands, isn't that disproportional outcomes? Isn't that disproportional impact? But it's not true, says the black liberal. They hate when their game is played back at them. They hate it. Hate it.
Taken from any white people yet.
How
But
so?
the laws, do the laws not allow
There is a
it?
law, but it hasn't been.
There is a law, but
No, but
they're
it hasn't.
being targeted.
Kind of like the
People,
Constitution.
people
Hold on,
are
guys. Hold on,
attacking
guys.
them.
I think that
they're
this.
threatening them.
Hold on. A lot is being said right now, including many things that are not true.
What's not true?
So the land. Let's talk about the land for a second.
It is. It's the law.
Scott, just 1 second. Let's talk about the land.
So the
The
law-
land.
you
Hold on a
guys
second.
haven't
Hold on.
created
Let's
yet.
talk about the land. I'm going to take.
No, but can you have a complete thought? No, not with you, emotional people. I'm done. They're really that mad. Over 59 South Africans with the wrong skin color. That's what it comes across. Liberals are the very races they claim that they're against. 20 million people of non-white immigrants flooding the country. A lot of them criminals. A lot of them wanted from Interpol. Unvetted, getting temporary status. Not a peep. Biden was giving them special treatment. You giving them temporary status for breaking our immigration laws by coming into this country illegally? Democratic Party don't want to pass a law where if you found crossing the border illegally, you're immediately denied asylum access. This asylum court case. They didn't want to pass it. That's not special treatment from the Democratic Party, Democrats, liberals. But Donald Trump going, oh, shoot, they just passed a law that disproportionately will affect the white farmers in a land that's 93% black. And there's already a history of racial kind of animosity that a lot of the population has not gotten over, right? Imagine that. They got their reparations in South Africa, right? And that was supposed to cure all the racial hostility, but that racial hostility still exists in South Africa today. This is an argument for not to give reparations because people will still hold the grudge against you, right? So now there's this racial hostility. You know the historical context of the South African kind of politics, and you're perceiving this as, oh no, there's no logical way the white farmer should perceive this as a prosecution against them. It's hard for them to hold criminals accountable in that country, and the criminals use it to their advantage to do targeted attacks. Not a problem. Because they do it to their own people at a disproportionate rate, which is fine. People of the same race always kill each other more. But the point is, these people have a logical conclusion, has reasonable doubt to believe that they won't be treated fairly. And that's what y'all can't stand, that they actually have a case for asylum, unlike the 20 million illegals you're allowed to come into this country under false pretenses. Oh, they need temporary status. They do have legal status. That was privilege given to them by Joe Biden. Trump plays the same game with 59 not illegals, because they were invited in the country, unlike these illegals. These illegals just show up in front of the door and expect you to take them in. These people, they went through a proper legal process. Y'all crying foul when Trump was never against legal immigration in the first place. He was against illegal immigration. If these 59 South Africans walked across the border illegally and came to an undesignated entry point and Trump gave them temporary status like Biden, then you could call Trump a hypocrite. But that's not what the South Africans do. Trump, hey, here's your legal papers. I see what's going on in the South African government. I'm concerned about your human rights. I'll give you an opportunity to come into the country. Democrats cry foul. But, I digress. Let me know your thoughts and perspective about this debate in the comment section below. Scott Jennings is really saving the show, honestly. And the fact that they gang up on him, they go, oh, you can't finish a complete sentence. Yeah, because y'all keep jumping in as he's talking. He can't even make his case. They better be paying Scott Jennings a lot of money. But I digress. Let me know your thoughts and perspective in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Please share this video if you feel so inclined. It really does help me out in the algorithm. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.